Welcome to I Wrote This News. Today is January 30th, 2022, and we are starting something new, the Week in Review. Every weekend, we will give you a wrap-up of the week's events, highlighting and expanding on listener favorites from the week, with some yucks that didn't make it into the original episodes. Let's dive in. Story number 1, maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't so jab-resistant after all. Green Bay Packers star quarterback and puncture-proof Aaron Rodgers reacted to President Biden last week, after the commander-in-chief in December made an offhand comment to a Packers fan that Rodgers should get vaccinated. In an impressive display of nouns and verbs trying to find their places in line, Aaron served up the following word salad during an interview with ESPN. Quote, "When the President of the United States says, 'This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated,' it's because him and his constituents, which, I don't know how there are any if you watch any of his attempts at public speaking, but I guess he got 81 million votes. But when you say stuff like that, and then you have the CDC, which, how do you even trust them? But then they come out and talk about 75% of the COVID deaths have at least 4 comorbidities." The CDC study to which Rodgers was referring found that of the 36 COVID-19 deaths among 1.2 million people who were fully vaccinated between December 2020 and October 2021, 28 had 4 or more risk factors. During an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Rodgers also expressed the importance of books, saying, "We need more people reading books instead of sitting on their blanks watching TV," presumably not including an online show as part of TV. Rodgers even has a list of books he recommends, including the self-help book The 4 Agreements and a book that Rodgers seems to think was written just for him entitled, You're the Universe. One book that isn't part of the Aaron Rodgers book club is Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, about which he had this to say. Quote, "Oh dude, I could never read this book. It's however many pages." In a line from the interview that says everything you need to know to decide whether Rodgers is a diva, he put it simply, quote, "I don't want to apologize for being myself. I just want to be myself." Story number 2, now I shall lay me down to sleep. Prince Andrew is said to be readying the sale of his Swiss chalet in an effort to raise cash for legal fees and the prospect of a multi-million-dollar judgment or settlement in a case alleging that he had sex with a teenager without her consent 2 decades ago. Andrew quietly cleared the way to sell his 7-bedroom Swiss lodge with an indoor swimming pool late last year, paying millions he owed the previous owner to remove a court claim that would have impeded putting the property on the market. The Duke of York had for years failed to pay the final $8 million installment of the $29 million purchase, citing a lack of funds. The Swiss property is one of the few obvious sources of revenue available for a prince long accused of living beyond his means and associating with Jeffrey Epstein, the American financier and convicted sex offender accused of arranging sexual encounters for Andrew. To make things even more difficult for him, Andrew has been stripped of his military titles, royal honorifics, and any illusion that his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, will stand by him. In fact, if this keeps up, Andrew will have to go by his full name, Andrew Albert Christian Edward, which sounds like a coach taking role for a badminton squad. Take 2. In fact, if this keeps up, Andrew will have to go by his full name, Andrew Albert Christian Edward, which sounds like an angry father going through the names of each of his sons trying to hit on the name of one of the sons standing right in front of him. Take 3. In fact, if this keeps up, Andrew will have to go by his full name, Andrew Albert Christian Edward, which sounds like a rich dude falling down the stairs and calling for his butler, his valet, his manservant, and his pool boy. Take 4. In fact, if this keeps up, Andrew will have to go by his full name, Andrew Albert Christian Edward, which still sounds like the name of a creep. Story number 3, Berlusconi flirts, but oddly this time it's with responsible behavior. The man who single-handedly caused the entire country of Italy to sympathize with the United States during the Trump years has thrown in the towel on his drive to become that country's president. In a widely anticipated withdrawal statement, media tycoon and 85-year-old recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Manufacturers of Pancake Makeup, Silvio Berlusconi insisted he had enough support to win the election to Italy's highest office. But the 4-time former prime minister, who lives by the motto that one good bunga always deserves another, and who was convicted of tax fraud in October 2012, said he had decided to pull his name from consideration so lawmakers from across the political spectrum can choose a less divisive candidate. Berlusconi's tenure in office was tarnished by sex scandals and alleged corruption, undermining his quixotic quest to promote himself as a unifying national father figure. Quote, "I have decided to take another step along the path of national responsibility," Berlusconi wrote on Facebook, the go-to social media platform for aging white men. When asked about rumors that he was getting back together with his ex-wife, actress Miriam Raffaella Bartolini, Berlusconi explained, "It's not possible. I am not old enough to be her grandfather." In an update, Italy basically said scusi scherzo. We were just kidding, and re-elected Italian head of state Sergio Mattarella for a second term on Saturday, with party chiefs asking him to carry on after a week of fruitless, often fraught voting in Parliament to choose a successor. Story number 4. Ailin Palin causes spaghetti people to reach the end of their noodle. Sarah Palin, the former Republican vice presidential candidate, has continued to dine out at New York City restaurants despite testing positive for COVID-19. The ex-Alaska governor, who is not vaccinated, was spotted on Wednesday eating outdoors at the Upper East Side restaurant Leo's after testing positive for the illness. Palin had dined at the same restaurant on Saturday night, where she was seen eating indoors in violation of city rules requiring proof of vaccination for indoor dining. Palin returned to the restaurant Wednesday evening to, quote, apologize for the fracas around her previous visit, said the restaurant's manager. She promised she'd return again soon, perhaps to apologize for creating a second-order fracas. Despite CDC guidance that people with COVID-19 should isolate for at least 5 days to avoid further spread, Palin was spotted dining out again on Tuesday night. Palin is reported to have said that she thought that isolate is what you say when you arrive for your dinner reservation more than 15 minutes behind schedule, and that super spreader is the name of a menu item combining tomato bisque and half a bagel with cream cheese. In an update, we've learned that former hockey star Ron Duguay came to Palin's aid when a paparazzo stirred things up at Leo's. The photographer asked the people dining whether they were worried about hanging around Palin given she'd tested positive for COVID-19. Duguay created a fracas within a fracas, shooing the photographer away and swatting at his camera. The restaurant's manager Luca Guidolini is done with the drama, saying, quote, we've moved on. We've been answering all the questions since Wednesday. What can I tell you? We are spaghetti people. Hey, he said it, not me. Story number 5. Ma'am, this is a school, not the fourth longest running Broadway show. A Michigan school superintendent found himself having to explain to parents that, no, there were not litter boxes on school grounds for students to use if they identified as, quote, furries. The rumor that furries, people who really enjoy dressing up as animal characters, use litter boxes at school appears to have started at a school board session last month. Lisa Hansen said at the meeting that she was told that litter boxes had been added to the unisex bathrooms for students who identify as cats. Let's listen to Lisa explain.
So let's talk about furries. It was addressed by a child a couple months ago that they are put in an environment where there are kids that identify as a furry, a cat or a dog, whatever. And so yesterday I heard that at least one of our schools in our town has in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats. And I am really disturbed by that. And I will do some more investigation on that. I know it's going on nationwide. I know it is. It's part of the agenda that's being pushed. I don't even want to understand it. But I think that people need to be aware of it, because I am really upset as a parent that my child is put in an environment like that. And you know, I'm all for creativity and imagination, but when someone lives in a fantasy world and expects other people to go along with it, I have a problem with that.
You and me both, sister. You and me both. Now it's time for On This Date in History. On this date in 1835, in the first assassination attempt against a president of the United States, Richard Lawrence attempts to shoot President Andrew Jackson, but fails and is subdued by a crowd, including several congressmen as well as Jackson himself. On this date in 1847, Yerba Buena, California is renamed San Francisco, California, and rice-a-roni is no longer the Yerba Buena treat. On this date in 1956, the home of civil rights movement leader Martin Luther King Jr. is bombed in retaliation for the Montgomery bus boycott. And on this date in 1969, the Beatles hold their last public performance on the roof of Apple Records in London. The impromptu concert is broken up by the police, which is odd, because Sting and his mates wouldn't form that band for 8 more years. Celebrating birthdays today are actress Vanessa Redgrave, chess whiz Boris Spassky, politician and puppet master Dick Cheney, musician Phil Collins, singer Jody Watley, actor Christian Bale, Mexican trampoline gymnast Daphne Navarro, and actor Gene Hackman, who turns 92. Happy birthday to all of them, and if your birthday is today, a very happy birthday to you as well. By the way, if you or someone you know is having a birthday and would like us to announce it on the show, leave us a voice message or send an email. The links are in the show notes. Today's news was brought to us by the New York Times, ESPN, the Financial Times, Reuters, The Guardian, Fox News, YouTube, and the website that you can't help but look at when that know-it-all spouts off at dinner, Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at I wrote this news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is I wrote this news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Neese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.